Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. My name is William Hemsworth. It is great to be with you all again on today's episode. I'm pleased to have my guest that's on a very special program, Matt Smith. He's responsible for managing existing relationships while generating new opportunities on a national basis with Catholic institutions, service providers, startup businesses, and Catholic ministries. Matt is a native of Fort Wayne, Indiana. He came to OSV Institute from Fort Wayne-based University of St. Francis, which he joined as a professor in 2002. His responsibilities at the university increased in scope with his initial appointment at the university's director of writing, followed by department chair, director of general education, dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, and vice president of institutional advancement. He helped secure more than 33 million in grants and gifts to the university, and he's the director of strategic alliances for the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing great, William. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on and to talk about what you all are doing over at OSV with this challenge.
Very excited to share this with your listeners today. I think many of them will be interested in what we're doing and maybe be able to take part in our challenge.
I hope so. And as I mentioned off air, a lot of my listeners, they're somewhere in the beginning stages of forming apostolates and Catholic organizations to evangelize. So I think this will be helpful to them to see what's out there. So I'm pleased to have you on. So thanks again. Now, what originally sparked the idea for the OSV challenge, and why now?
Yeah, that's a great question, William. And I'll give you a little bit of history of the Institute because I think that'll shape how, what we're doing now. So OSV, most of your listeners probably know us through church envelopes, curriculum, our trade books, a lot of different things. It was founded in 1912 by Archbishop Knoll. At that time, Monsignor Knoll. But he bought a printing press for $1 and started the OSV newspaper, which increased exponentially in circulation. And as that grew, we diversified into many different things, talking about some of the forward facing of the trade books, the curriculum, those kind of things. But we also do a lot of parish services, diocesan services, behind the scenes, fundraising help, parish management systems, things like that.
Right.
In 1915, he began the Institute. Archbishop Knoll thought any money that OSV made should go back to the church in the North America. And so the Institute has been giving out grants since 1915, and to many different apostolates, many different programs, diocesan efforts, parishes, those kind of things. About 4 years ago, OSV hired Jason Shanks as our president of the Institute. And he spent about a year doing fact finding, kind of trying to get the pulse of the church, doing a lot of research as we thought about our grant making initiatives. And he went through a really sort of rigorous process to come up with 3 initiatives that OSV Institute funded. And that was around millennials, around the growing Hispanic population in the church, and then with the domestic church. And so for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, we've funded those initiatives through a fairly traditional grant process. Really great, funded a lot of great organizations doing a lot of great work. Last year in 2020, we saw a need or wanted to spark a sort of catalyst for innovation in the church. And so we began the Innovation Challenge last year. We had about 350 applicants, down to 12 finalists, and then 3 winners of $100,000 prizes. And one of the things that we did during that time period was do some assessment of our traditional grant making and our challenge winners, our challenge finalists. And through some of that assessment, what we saw was we thought that the Institute could have a greater impact on the life of the church through being a catalyst for innovation. And so what we kind of did with the 2021 Innovation Challenge was, I would say, double down on that, increased our funding towards the challenge, not only in the Innovation Challenge, but also we rebranded ourselves in January as the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation. We have launched OSV Talks, which are Catholic TED Talks. If your readers aren't familiar with or your listeners aren't familiar with those, it's something they might want to check out. Some great 18-minute talks from leaders in the church just about different innovative ideas, innovative problems, innovative talks. I guess they're not innovative problems, but solutions to problems, innovative
Sure.
solutions. And so the challenge this year, again, we've doubled down a little bit. One of the feedback we got from our finalists and semifinalists last year was, as we went along the process, was there any way that we could do some seed funding to help those apostolates, help those ministries, or whatever programs? So our 25 semifinalists are going to receive some prize money if they reach that stage. Our finalists will receive another little bit upped level of funding as they get to that stage. And then the winners will receive three $100,000 prizes. So three winners, $100,000 each. And it truly is prize money.
Wow.
That's a long-winded answer to a very simple question.
No, it's okay. Oh, great. So three finalists, and of course, this is the second year for the contest. Can you give us maybe some background on the three winners from last year and maybe what they're up to?
Sure. And so our three winners last year were the Domestic Church Project, Eden Invitation, and then the Juan Diego Network. And so not only with these finalists, I mean, the $100,000 certainly was a capital infusion that has helped them, scale up a little bit. And all three of them have had success with that, whatever their ministry is or whatever their project is, they've been able to scale up with the use of those funds. But what we've also done with our other 9 finalists and those 3 winners, we've also worked with them in terms of PR. They've been, all of those finalists have been getting sort of put out in front of, through our newspaper, through our media outlets. Others have picked them up, Alatea, things like that. So more exposure, broad exposure. The other thing, William, that we really wanted to do was not only build this innovative tribe, so innovation, not only just winners, finalists and things like this, but a whole tribe of innovation. What we're also trying to bring to the table are investors, foundations, individual philanthropists. So last year of the 12 finalists, they were probably split 6 and 6, nonprofit, for-profit. So you had some of the finalists were looking for, philanthropists, donors, those kind of things. But others were looking for equity investment or venture capital. And so we've tried to work with different entities to bring those to the table. So sort of we have 2 strategies as we're focusing on this year. It's building that investor tribe in the church. All the creatives, whether they be in creative arts, whether they be in technology, whether they be in parish ministry, diocesan ministry, whatever those kind of things, very broad swath. But we're also trying to be sort of connectors with philanthropists and foundations. One of the things that we also found over our time sort of studying innovation and how we could help catalyze that was that many other foundations and philanthropists were thinking about the same things. How can we have impact? How can we start up? And to go back to an earlier point that you made, William, was why now? The Catholic Church has a long heritage and history of being innovators. You can think about hospitals, you can think about Catholic schools, you can think about social services, you can think about science. Many Catholics aren't aware that many scientists and many of the scientific discoveries and expansion of scientific thought were Catholic priests, were Catholic sisters, were Catholics. And so, one of the things that we really wanted to claim that back, and I really want to channel the president's of the Institute's words, and the church needs to go on the offensive. And that means that really to show people the truth and beauty of the church and that we are innovators and things like this. I think sometimes we get defensive about the Catholic Church, and sometimes for reasons in the last few years especially, but really we want to be that catalyst for innovation. And we also want to be that connector for other philanthropists, for other foundations that are looking for ways to have a profound impact to bring people to the truth and beauty of Christ.
Okay. Now, what can one expect with the process when they apply?
Well, the first place to go to is the osvchallenge.com. That's the website site. So osvchallenge.com. That's where the application can be found. But we also have an FAQ page where people can, maybe some of their questions can be answered in that. We have a timeline so people can sort of think about, many of our folks that are innovators and entrepreneurs, quote unquote, have day jobs, or they're raising their family, or lots of other things going on in their lives. So we want to make sure that people understand the sort of time commitment as you go forward. And so, there's all that kind of ancillary material that people can discern if it's the right time for them to apply. And then going through the application, the first round of application, it's a fairly simple application that just ask them to describe their idea, ask them to talk a little bit, and not in a very in-depth way, but just to give a general idea of a market analysis. Why is their idea, what problem is it solving? What do they know about that problem? Those kind of things. But we're also really interested in the people that are applying. I mean, we really want to get people that have grit, because I think, William, as you know, when you're starting something new and going on a new endeavor, there's going to be many iterations of that. You're going to hit walls, you're going to
Right.
fail, and we want people that can talk about how have they overcome challenges, what is their capacity and passion for this idea. So that's the first round. So they have, from the application process opened up in early February, they have till April 2nd to apply. So, a fairly long time in there. If they make it into round two, there will be some more questions asked. There'll be a pitch video that will ask them to upload, a very simple pitch video, and some things around what is called a business canvas, just to get an idea of what they are. And I do want to tell your listeners also that, based on last year's applicants and last year's finalists, I mean, we had everything from people literally that were starting with a back of the napkin idea. I mean, literally, to people that maybe were in a little bit further evolution of their ideas in terms of, maybe they had their nonprofit or their LLC formed, and maybe they were just starting those kind of things. But we've also had people apply that came from what I would say very established institutions, but there's a program or something new that they wanted to start within that institution.
Okay.
And that is fine too. We would, if they make it past the first round, we would talk about delineating between what that sort of evolved or established institution is and what the new idea or new program or new strategy might be. But, all those things, like I said, the heart of this is we want to cast the net wide. We're really looking for those innovative ideas in the church.
Yeah. So just to clarify, if someone is if they have an organization right now and they want a new idea, they could pitch this new idea, but they can't try to get funding for the existing organization that's already happening then, right?
That's exactly right, William.
Okay.
That's a great description of that. So the funding, the prize money couldn't go into sort of direct operating expenses for that entity or,
Okay.
Those kind of things. It really is funding the new idea. And that may be around personnel, that may be around product, that may be around technology. I mean, we funded a lot of different things through the prize money last year, kind of all of the above, but it can't go into that existing entity.
Got it. Okay. Now, is there any areas special interest that is being focused on this year?
No, and that's a good question, because we talked about that. We talked about, should we focus and have areas around X, Y, or Z where that's what we want to focus on. But we thought, at least for the second year, and again, we're trying to live out our values of innovation too, sort of reiteration and collaboration and getting feedback and all those kind of things. We decided to again do the broad swath, and really see what we got in those kind of things. There is a possibility in the future maybe we will focus in innovation in a certain area, those kind of things. But right now, we really want to keep seeing it, because this is organic, and it can come from any level. It can come from a concerned group of citizens, people. It can come from a diocesan office, a school, a apostolate, those kind of things. We also feel we'll get a sense of, where are areas in the church that are crying out for innovation. For example, maybe we'll get 75 applications around K through 12 education. Well, maybe that's an area then, as we think about where we want to focus our funds, where we want to focus a challenge, where we want to maybe connect other philanthropists to, maybe that's the area. But right now, it really is, anything and everything at this point.
Okay. So how does the OSV Institute connect these applicants with, like you said, a philanthropist and investors?
So a couple different ways, William. One of the ways is if people make it to the semifinal stage this year, and it'll be about 25 organizations will be selected, or people will be selected that way. They're going to go through a 6-week accelerator. Last year we did a 10-week accelerator. This year we shortened it a little bit based on some feedback we got. And part of that is we bring in folks to talk as they're going through the accelerator. Sometimes it's philanthropists, so we bring them in to talk about how do you get in a foundation's door? How do you, we bring in some of our partners in the philanthropic world who can talk about what happens in a donor meeting. Some of our applicants had never asked anybody for money.
Right.
Or if you are doing equity investment or looking for venture capital, how do you go about that? So part of that is we do some education, especially depending on what's the mix of the 25 that we get. The other thing that we do is when we do our demo day in September, we are hopeful to have a physical demo day along with live streaming. Last year was all virtual because of COVID, which worked out fine. Again, it taught us a lot about pivoting and being able to be nimble. But this year we do hope to have a physical demo day. At that demo day, the finalists will make a pitch to judging panel for the finalists. But we're also hopeful, and what we had planned for last year was to have some time for each of the finalists to make a pitch to investors, philanthropists. We hope to have physically some of them there, but also to do a live streaming so that folks can come in. And so what we're hoping to do with these 12 finalists is to get them in front of these folks at that demo day.
That education is huge because there's a big difference between presenting venture capital and philanthropy. So I think in addition to the contest, I think providing the education is a huge thing that you're doing.
Well, and I think it's really important to, a lot of these folks, and even in this year, talking to some of the contestants that are applying, the challengers that are applying, great ideas, and they're very passionate. I mean, they want to serve the church, help the church, serve, people, serve the world. And some of them have different skill sets. Some of them really understand what does it mean if you want to be a nonprofit? What do you want to be if you're for profit? But how do you build a business plan? How do you build a marketing plan? And so we really try. And again, it's not you're not getting an MBA, but what we're trying to do is help people understand the different aspects of that, and then also connect them. One, it's to build that innovative tribe. So one of the things that we found, and that we really are going to be very much curating this year, is those 12 finalists really started to support each other, and so would point each other and support each other. And we had some folks that were really excellent in technology. They helped some of the groups that maybe weren't so sophisticated in that build their websites, things like that. So it's building that where those shared resources. I mean, one of the values of the challenge is collaboration, and I think we really want to try to get many of our Catholic brothers and sisters out of silos. To collaborate. How can we serve the church? Because William, I think everybody knows, and I think everybody's seen the data about the, sort of the numbers of people leaving the church, or the numbers of people not even beginning in the church. And, it's not that we want to change doctrine, and everything we do is from the heart of the church and within the magisterium, but it's really like I indicated earlier, it's to go on the offensive. It's to show the world the truth and beauty and just the passion of the church and what it can do and help to transform lives. I mean, I think that I always think of St. Francis's famous line about the gospel, and I'm probably going to not paraphrase it exactly right, but every day you should preach the gospel, and if you have to, use words. I mean, it really is about living out the gospel message.
Absolutely. No, the application process it opened up on February 1st. And can you tell us when it ends, and maybe when the prize would be awarded later on?
Yeah, no, that's great. So round one applications will be due April 2nd, but we're accepting them through, and we're sort of having a rolling, moving on. So we're trying, so it's on April 2nd, we don't have to read, hopefully 500 applications, right on April 2nd. So, but people will have till April 2nd to apply. And on that timeline, there are dates for each of them, but it culminates in a September 18th demo day. So that's where the winners will be announced, and we'll have the finalists doing their pitches for the judges, and then some connection time with investors and philanthropists.
Okay, great. So September 18th is when everything will be announced. Now, how many applicants have you received so far?
We are close to about 80 or 90. And so that's, about 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in. Again, another month, another, whole month. And, by the volume of questions, I'm hopeful that we'll have more. Like I said, last year we had about 350. We'd love to hit that again. And so really encourage your listeners if they have an idea. There's also, if people have questions, because sometimes there's legal and technical questions or just need some affirmation to go ahead and apply. There's a number of places on that osvchallenge.com where they can submit questions, and we'll get back to them as quickly as we can.
All right, everyone. So check out osvchallenge.com. If you have a great idea, submit it. I mean, anything we can do to help the church and bring souls to our Lord. So, Matt, I thank you for coming on and talking about the challenge. I appreciate all you're doing with it. Thank you very much.
Well, again, thank you for having me, William. And, if you want to check in May or June or something and see how we're doing with the challenge, we'd be happy to talk about that too. And maybe have even one of our semifinalists or finalists on with you.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I look forward to that. I'll be in touch. All right. We have a great day. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, William.